commiserations. You are watching the Villa View. It's time for a post-match pint in association with Purity Ale. If you use the code #VillaView, which I suggest you do after what you've seen today, you'll get 10% off everything that Purity have to offer. Aston Villa 1, Stevenage 2. I'm Dan Bardell, joined by Neil Dunworth. And Neil, Aston Villa have not won an FA Cup game that wasn't a replay since one of my favourite games ever, FA Cup semi-final against Liverpool. I think it was 2015. That is unprecedented and must be some kind of record, because that is quite frankly ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. I'm actually dumbstruck and I'm stuck for words, and I've done a podcast on this already, and I thought I got my head straight after it, because I felt I was pretty measured in the podcast, and I utilized it to try and just keep on talking until I kind of found something that I found a kind of an equilibrium that I was happy with, because this kind of stuff is cursed territory, you know. It's amazing the way it happens to Aston Villa, and it's amazing the way it happens in such mad ways, you know, such crazy ways, whereby I fluttered with the idea of arrogance being the reason that we lost today, and I kind of came down on unprofessionalism for a finish as the reason why. But I'm still kind of mulling around in my mind as to what word I will put on the performance today, because it doesn't befit the level of the level. Like the players are all international players, and what we saw out there today was really, like, that's why I thought it was arrogance at the start, because the players are all of a decent quality. Hell, there was 3 of them at the World Cup. A lot of them have got have international caps. All of them have international caps, bar Morgan Sanson, who was arguably one of our most creative players at times today. But why do they go out against a team in League Two, albeit a team that for a finish deserved their win, because when you score 2 goals, you deserve your win?
Yeah, I should say well done to Stevenage.
Exactly,
I'm not knocking them at all. When I'm about to say it's embarrassing for Aston Villa, I'm not trying to be disrespectful for Stevenage, but a Premier League team at home to a League Two team, however well they're going in League Two, should not be losing, and they definitely shouldn't be losing.
When internationals, like
88 minutes, mate, the game was 1-0 to Villa, so they definitely shouldn't be going out.
Cardiff. Leeds went out against Cardiff. They were 2-0 down with a team of kids. Oh yeah, their backline header ain't their strike. Junior football, so they're really only playing with 10 people. And even Leeds fans will admit that about football. I'm not sticking the boot in there, but they come back to draw 2-2 because there was a sense of, okay, we can't let this happen.
And they're playing a championship team away.
We're playing a League Two team at home, and we're 1-0 up. And then we've a man who tries to beat his player twice on the edge of his own box and gets sent off and gives away a penalty is the aftermath from it. I can't square the circle there. I can't square the circle about how cloudy that decision must have been.
That, when you say, I do think it's a combination of reasons Villa have lost that game. You can probably chuck arrogance in as one of them. The bit I'm really struggling to live with is I watched Newcastle lose to Sheffield Wednesday yesterday, a League One team away. Hillsborough, it was a fevering atmosphere, to be honest. Sheffield Wednesday did well. Newcastle a little bit unlucky. Chris Woods missed a sitter to get them back in the game at the end, but
yes,
they've rested players because they're third in the league and they're in with a good chance of getting Champions League football. Completely understandable. Aston Villa are not going to go down, and Aston Villa are not going to get into Europe. So why in the FA Cup third round do we feel the need to make 8 changes? Why do we feel the need to bring Olsen back in goal? Surely Martinez needs a little bit of rhythm. He played the other night. Give him another game. Martinez, he's not tired. He's a goalkeeper. I know that's simple. I sound like Roy Keane. But play him in goal. I hate killing the goalkeeper, Olsen. But the simple fact is, except for the Spurs game when he had absolutely nothing to do, we lose every time he plays. He's not really culpable for the first goal. We saw Emi Martinez.
And Dunker had plenty of time and space.
Emi Martinez, we had a similar goal against Brighton, didn't we, away, that we conceded with Martinez in goal. He's not at fault for that first goal. Once you've got to 1-1, the second goal, the defending to not having any nous to close him down is absolutely ridiculous when someone runs for a short corner. Not one player paid attention and went with him or tried to close him down. So I could have saved that. I'm not being funny. It's pretty much straight aim. Yeah, yes, it's his near post, but in a way, I would say it's pretty much straight aim. You've got to say
Ridiculous
that. You've
goalkeeping.
got a long time to look at it as well. It's not like it's come through loads of bodies. That's a routine save for a Premier League number 2 even. I would say someone who's an international goalkeeper. That should be a routine save. So we make all these changes, but why do we need to make changes? To me, we treat the FA Cup with contempt every season. We play a weakened team in the third round every time. And that's why we haven't won in the third round since 2015, 2016 season. But why do we do it? Because we're not going to go down and we're not going to get into Europe. And why do we have this thing where we concede one and another one's coming straight after? It is pathetic.
This is so Dan, and that's exactly it. And I like this is a team this core group of players. This core group of players that we spoke about are all internationals. I said that a moment ago, but there's a mental frailty here. I think it's about time that we just basically admit it. There's a mental frailty here. This team did this exact routine, if not worse, against Manchester. Well, no, it wasn't, because this is against a League Two team. We do it against the big teams. Man City, last day of the season last year. Absolute capitulation. Like, literally, everyone talking about Aston Villa couldn't hold on to a 2-goal lead with 10 minutes to go. Aston Villa couldn't hold on to a 1-goal lead with 2 minutes to go today. This happens. Through the course of this year, started this year, Villa score against Everton, immediately concede again. Villa scored against Bolton, if I'm not mistaken, immediately concede straight away. This team has a soft underbelly. It just does. It doesn't have leaders. It doesn't have leaders. This is why when people are talking about, oh, he stripped the captaincy from Tyrone Mings. Yes, do I disagree with that? I do. He's given it to Ming, giving it to McGinn. Is McGinn a leader? Danny Ings had it today. Danny Ings had 16 touches of the ball today, of which 8 were passes, 2 were shots. Yes, he did get an assist. Then Emi Martinez has it. Then so like this merry-go-round of the captain's armband to me shows it. Like, some people have said, oh, does it show that we have lots of leaders in the group? We don't have a leader, and it comes back to that second goal. Look at the second goal. They're completely under panic when they realized that whoever was supposed to be, potentially that was Dendonker's spot. Whoever was supposed to be there on that corner of that furthest forward player wasn't there, and they played a short corner, and then Watkins comes out half-hearted, and then he beats him at the front post. This is an ongoing thing with this group of players. It's an ongoing thing. Like, good teams and teams that we should be beating, it doesn't matter. The team cannot react because it doesn't have a John Terry type. It doesn't have a Roy Keane type that you mentioned. And I know I'm being very stereotypical here, but where is the person that everybody looks to? Where's the person that drags everybody into a huddle together and says, we're not losing this. We're not losing this. And if you lose this, or if you lose this, or if you do that, instead they all go to the referee and they cross their fingers for VAR. The VAR is going to overturn the Dendonker red card or penalty. I think he was getting a red card anyway if it wasn't a penalty, because it was the most stupid pullback I've ever seen. And then he goes and hacks him again. So that's the frailty. It's the hide behind it. It's the cross your fingers above VAR. It's the little things like that. It's the not being able to organize a corner when one man gets sent off 2 minutes after he's sent off, and the complete and utter blind panic that happens. So Unai Emery is a big job ahead of himself. He's done really well in the league with these players, and we will have better performances than we had.
His league form, but we've got a cup specialist manager, and we still getting knocked out in the third round to Stevenage. I'm absolutely flabbergasted. I'll be honest, I expected Villa to win. So I saw that team today. I still expected Villa to win. Yeah. I think it's a collective thing. Everyone needs to take responsibility today, and I include the manager in that. That's not me knocking the manager or saying that, well, you should go. He's not what we thought he was. He just needs to take responsibility because he picked that team. I do think when you rotate as heavily as we did, and we made 8 changes, which I think is completely unnecessary, by the way. If you make 8 changes, and I can't even remember if I've already said this in this podcast, I'm so tired. If you're playing as a team that plays together every week, that are a group of professional footballers, even in League Two, if you make 8 changes, you're going to struggle for rhythm. You're inviting problems, and I think you're asking for questions to be asked, and that's quite simply what Villa have done. I know they're internationals, but Chambers hasn't played all season, Bednarek hasn't played all season, Sanson hasn't played all season. You put together a disjointed team, you'll get a disjointed performance, and that's what happened. But saying all that, there's still absolutely no way they should capitulate and lose that game. Absolutely not a chance. And it is embarrassing. And I hate coming on here and being negative,
I'd have to disagree slightly and say, while it was a disjointed performance, they never looked like losing it until Dendonker goes nuts in the edge of the box. They really didn't. And I know they had
we could have gone 1-0 down, in fairness. I know it was offside, but
it was offside. So
they played a nice move and cut us open early on in the game and nearly.
But it was offside. That's the thing I'm saying. So we didn't.
We were never comfortable.
Possession.
Well, I say we're never comfortable. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but Dion Dublin on
We
the
were
commentary
over
kept
comfortable.
Dion Dublin kept saying, whilst it's only one, Stevenage, you're
I
in the game.
know.
Well done, Stevenage. You've stayed in the game. You're still in the game. Well
Mhm.
done, gentlemen. I'm sure he said something like that along those lines in the
Yeah,
commentary. Villa threw it away. It's almost like we didn't want to replay because
that's the thing.
you've rested all these players because of the load of the fixtures, the congestion of the fixtures. You've nearly ended up with a replay, by the way, and that would have been another game to have to play and endure. I mean, unfortunately, we've managed to completely lose our heads and lose the game. But you look at some of the money we've spent on the players in that team.
That's it.
Recruitment.
Mm.
We've got some very good players, and we have made some good recruitment. We've made some signings who I think are better than what they're showing. Some players, I think you can let them off a little bit because I just think that we've been a mess since Jack went. Basically, the recruitment's been a little bit scattergun, but I do think some of the players we've bought are good players, and under Emery, given time, he might be able to turn them around and make them successful signings. But
And
you're looking at that team today, we have chucked a lot of money down the drain.
And if there's a captain, if there's a decent person with a head in him that can pull those players together, an actual leader and an actual captain, which Villa haven't had since we've come back into the Premier League. Jack Grealish was able to carry the ball. He was kind of a leader by doing. But I'm talking about a figure, a leader of the. They could have pulled everybody into a huddle and said, "We're a man down. We're 1-1 with Stevenage. We do not chase this
Is that
game.
not
There's 2 minutes left."
Ashley Young's on the pitch. He's a leader.
Did he do it?
Oh, well,
Evidently not.
he
No.
may have tried.
So
If he did try, it didn't work.
well, then is he a leader? So that's what I'm saying. We don't have this figurehead. I didn't see any reaction other than to go to the referee after Dundalk got sent off and see if there was a VAR check, and that's all that happened. There was no other reaction, and 2 minutes later, we have this corner that's completely disjointed, and we go 2-1 down. You needed to come together. You needed to suck up your pride and admit that you're after making a complete another Horlicks out of it because an individual error. Take your 1-1, take your medicine, and beat them in the replay. But Villa couldn't do that. They weren't able to do that. Buendia took off on a run, I think, almost directly after they scored the penalty, lost the ball, which leads to the corner, if I'm not mistaken. And there was no need to make that run through the center of the field. So it's things like this. It's little things like this, and I'm way more worked up now than I was directly after the game. To be
honest,
so
I think I wound you up as soon as you came on before we started. We basically did a podcast before we came on.
Yeah. But I know, and I know that we can't change anything now. And look, realistically speaking, at the end of the day, our core. Look, I would have absolutely loved to have won this game today. Absolutely, everybody would have. I think what stings is it's a League Two team that we've gone out to in 2 minutes from the end of the game, and they've absolutely robbed it from under us because of our ineptitude. That's the stinger here.
We always plan that we get Manchester United in every FA Cup, and that's the reason that we go out. But the quite simple fact is we can't beat anyone. We can't beat anyone in the third round. We've lost it. In the Championship, I didn't mind us resting players because that schedule is ridiculous in the Championship, and we were never going to win the FA Cup in the Championship. So when we did it then, I didn't really mind it. But doing it now, as I say, when you're probably looking at a mid-table finish, you're not going to go down. You're not going to get into Europe. What's the reason for resting people? I cannot work out what the reason is. The next game's on Friday. That's 5 days away. You've had a game. You've had a game on Wednesday, but you've played. Was it a game Wednesday or was it Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Our game was Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we're not playing on the Saturday. We're playing on the Sunday. So there's been a decent rest since then as well. The players haven't really played for a month because the World Cup's been on, so there's not been a proper competitive game for a long time, except for those that went away. And even those that have went away have had a little bit of a break. What's this fascination with having a cup goalkeeper? Why do Villa need a cup goalkeeper? We're not in Europe. We messed up the League Cup as well, pretty much the first chance we got against Manchester United. And we went out, in my opinion, to Manchester United because we made changes. We didn't need to make changes that night, really. I didn't think we had a bit of a positive momentum against them. We beat them the weekend before, but again, I feel harsh on the goalkeeper every time. But we changed the goalkeeper. In my opinion, I think with Martinez in goal that night, we probably beat Manchester United because we played well. We just let in some absolutely stupid goals, and he was rooted to his line. So we just give it. Why do you need a goalkeeper? We're not in Europe. We don't have fixture congestion. We're not in the Europa League. We're out the League Cup. The FA Cup, other than finishing mid-table, is the only thing we had this season. And Villa fans are desperate to win a trophy. I know I am. Absolutely desperate to see us win a trophy. I can't remember what it's like. I was 10. I've got no memory of really what it was like to win a trophy.
True.
We can have won the FA Cup since we last won the League Cup. Middlesbrough have won the League Cup. I'm looking through the list of teams that have won a trophy. Bloody Blues have won the League Cup since we won a trophy, you know. And you've got no divine right to win anything. But we don't take it seriously enough.
Yeah,
You know, the reason
that's true.
Blues won the League Cup, the reason Wigan won the FA Cup, because they took it seriously. Wigan went down that season, but, you know, okay, they won the FA Cup. They had something to sing about. Why did Aston Villa not take the cup seriously? It's Mickey Mouse. Why we're acting like we're this third-rate side? We want to be a big club. You've got to behave like one. Take the cup seriously. Try and win something. We're the masters of our own downfall, in my opinion, in the cups.
My big thing here is when you start that absolutely perfect premise. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you 100%. And then when I step back and I look at it and go, how many different managers we've had that have had the same thought process?
Smith
Like,
did it.
so
Bruce did it.
Smith did it. Bruce did it. Unai's
Gerrard,
done it.
I give Gerrard his due. He didn't do it. It was about one of the only things he got right. But against Bolton, he played our strongest team. No Olsen in goal. Martinez was in goal against Bolton. I think we went 1-0 down in that game and came back and won. And Gerrard said, one thing I can remember him saying is, I'm going to take this cup seriously. Aston Villa needs to win something. I'm going to play in my first 11. Why? There's no reason not to play that first 11 today. And that's the bit that I put on the manager, because there's just no need for it. And I put it on the players that they should be better than that, and they've let the manager down. So it's a two-way street. It's both fault.
I could get on board with saying, like, I would say no more than 5% of it's just the golfing class with those players that we had out in the field and their players. What it was player heart, it was player issue, it was what happened. Like, there was flicks, there was tricks, there was everything going on after we scored. That's where my arrogance comes from. And then the arrogance then, as I say, it comes from trying to beat a man twice in the edge of your area. And you're not exactly the silkiest footballer in the whole entire world. It really demoralized us once we went down 1-1. And as I say, this team thought they just had to show up. No, maybe you can put that on the manager if you want. I
get what you're saying. My personal opinion is there's no need to rotate that heavily. Yeah, you might make 2 or 3 changes. You think, I know it's different because Man City made changes, but they're playing Chelsea. Foden's playing in the third round of the FA Cup and scoring today. Rashford started for Manchester United. Mind you, I suppose we play people who are first team players. We did play Bailey.
We played Ings. People have been shouting for Ings for the last 6 weeks, or for the last 6 months.
Bailey was erratic. He's not there. I mean, I wouldn't
gave away the ball 8 times. Yep. Dan, I have a statistic for you. I think you missed it while you went to get a glass of water beforehand. Douglas Luiz had more touches on his own than the 3 midfielders and the 2 strikers for Stevenage put together today. The 3 midfielders and 2 strikers for Stevenage had 117 touches in the game. Douglas Luiz had 139.
That just tells me
we owned this game.
But did we miss a hatful of chances? Yeah, but we had the ball, but we didn't do anything with it.
We scored a nice
goal. We scored a nice goal. Well, but why don't we try and play some football again at any point during the game?
That's a fair comment.
The goal was nice.
That's a fair comment, and that's where my arrogance statement comes from. We just thought we'd be able to. We scored a goal, passed the ball around for 75 minutes, and that's all well and good until somebody absolutely goes insane at the back. You know, that's the issue. That's where my arrogance comment came from, because that was a sense of arrogance. There was lots of flicks. There was lots of around the corner passes, not no look passes, but back in stuff, and that's fine. I've actually got no real problem with that. But my big thing is, if you're going to do that, you better batten down the hatches if somebody goes and does something mad. You got to batten down the hatches. And that's where the leadership doesn't come in. It just doesn't. And it isn't there. So, yes, we can talk about rotating players, but we rotated it for a player that once cost 100 million. We brought in probably the only questionable ones, I suppose, really, yes, were the 2 centre halves, who I don't think really were at fault for much today because they didn't have much to do. And the goalkeeper, which the goalkeeper probably wasn't even a question. I think everybody probably knew in their heart of hearts he was going to play. And then hindsight says, why didn't you play Martinez? Which is fine. And that's okay. I think hindsight is okay to have, because his mistake for the second goal was so egregious, I think. But it's something like it's like this, that, that these players can't get out of whatever gear they decide they're going to be in when the game starts. And they almost play upwards towards the level that they're playing at, or they play downwards towards the level that they're playing at. And that's no disrespect to Stevenage, but We had nobody running past their defence today. We had no diagonal runs today. We had no one actually really trying to get around the corners to whip crosses in. And when we did, we only had Danny Ings standing in there on his own. And that Pierre Gianni or whatever his name was, he was a Hulk inside there. There was no way Danny Ings is getting ahead. When was the last time Danny Ings was leaping like a salmon and jumping and scoring headers to beat the band? I just think there's disjointedness. I think the players were disjointed in the field because of lack of leadership in the field. I genuinely, the more I think of it, the more I think that's what needs to change.
You're watching like Coutinho, who I remember him running that game against Leeds in the Premier League when it February earlier last year, February. You know, he ran that game against Leeds, Coutinho, but to be fair, he did have a lot of space in that game. You think against Stevenage, you might maybe be able to unlock something. He's trying 25, 30-yard shots. They're going into the crowd. Bailey is either exceptional or absolute dross, but there's more dross than exceptional, unfortunately. But when he's good, Leon Bailey. But you're watching him try and beat men time and time again today. It's just not happening. Just wasn't happening for him. Sanson, give him his due, playing on the kind of hybrid right midfield / number 10 role. Took his goal nicely, neat and tidy. But you know, I still don't think he's the answer to any of our problems. To be honest, he's not mobile enough for me. Did well today, fair enough. And when he went off, people will say, "Oh, Sanson went off, and we lost the game." But we lost the game because of what Dendoncker did, but basically, which was absolutely mindless. But here we are. That's what happened. Players have tried. I don't really think it's. Is it lack of effort? Could we label lack of effort today as being one of those things? You're saying arrogance, but could we label lack of effort at them today? I'm not sure, really. I'd probably not. I don't think it's a lack of effort.
I think it was a lack of
nous.
Effort is an interesting word. I don't think it's effort, but I think it was lack of intention. You know, we got that one goal up, and as I say, I genuinely think that they thought that they could pass the ball around and were good enough to do that, and they were for 88 minutes of the game. They actually were. But what I think is, you know, they should be good. They should have wanted to win that game 3 or 4-0 today. You just didn't get that feeling that they were ever going to actually overexert themselves. And so, yes, I think you could say effort, but I think it was more certain like intentional effort. I don't know what the right phraseology is, but I agree with you to a certain extent. You know, they were looking like they were doing everything right. It's like that fellow who's got a sweeping brush and he's sweeping a clean floor. He looks like he's doing a ton of work, but is he actually even sweeping up anything off the floor? You know, that kind of a thing. That's kind of the way it is. The way I found tonight, there was no achievement in what a lot of those passes. Like I was just totting up there.
We weren't going anywhere, were we? Weren't like we were opening them up, and that was unlucky, close, missed chance. There were no missed chances. We just had the ball.
Luis and Sanson had more passes today than the whole starting 11 of Stevenage today, and this is what I mean. We had the workload, we had the numbers. The numbers look impressive from that point of view. Oh God, Villa owned the ball, and they did own the ball.
They should do.
We should do. We're a bunch of internationals. One of our players is probably getting paid 4 times the amount of all the rest of the whole Stevenage squad put together.
I was thinking at 1 week of Coutinho's wages is possibly more than their whole Stevenage team cost. I don't know whether that would be true, but that was something that was running through in my head during the game when we were labouring.
But it is. It's like it, and these are very kitsch cliches that are thrown out every time a big team loses to a small team, but they're still no less true. You know, Luis and Sanson together had 177 passes. The whole of the Stevenage team had 167 between them. The starting 11 had 167 between them. And then when you see the guys who came on, they had 100. Even at that, every single player that played for Stevenage had 193 passes throughout the course of the whole game. That's all they had. So 2 of our midfielders nearly passed the ball as many times. So you put Dendoncker and Luis together, they way outpassed. Dendoncker had 83 passes on his own. It's like what you said was, so we didn't want to win by more, and then it bit us in the back, and that's why the more I think about it, the more I'm coming down on and back to the word of arrogance again. We showed up arrogant to this game. I think we did, and I'm willing to take that back at any stage, but it's like when you look at it in the cold light of day, we got the goal and we thought, this is grand. We'll just own the ball. We'll play keep ball, nice and handy, and we'll swan off, perfect. We won't overexert ourselves. And you can't rattle through the gears again, especially in the 88th minute when catastrophe strikes.
Yeah, I've got Sanjay Pradhan in the, sorry if I've pronounced your name wrong, in the comments. And you
Yes.
can't blame Unai. That team was good enough to beat a League Two, so I agree. We would be complaining if we were drained against Leeds if we won tonight. We should have won and been more aggressive. I'm not blaming Unai Emery. I'm not saying this game is on Unai Emery. What I'm saying is that he's culpable. It's not. You can't just blame the players. Unai Emery's picked that team today. I think it's a little bit on him. But I would argue with that and say, surely you want a little bit of momentum. You know, we beat Spurs, come back and salvage a point against Wolves, something Villa haven't done very often in the last few years, coming back and getting something out of a game. So there's a little bit of momentum creeping in, and generally we've been good against Unai Emery. Sorry, good since Unai Emery has come into the helm. So why do we risk all that, make these changes, and get embarrassed on national television against Stevenage? What's the need to do it? I don't get why we think that we need to make all these changes. I think there's enough time for recovery ahead of that game on Friday.
I think
you win
so
today,
too.
you're in the next round
5
of the FA
days.
Cup. You're going into Friday. Villa Park's bouncing again. We're now going to be going into the Leeds game on Friday. And Villa Park will be nervy and agitated and tentative like it is when you lose a game. But we haven't just lost any game. We've lost the League Two Stevenage at home. So I think we've shot ourselves in the foot in the league, possibly now. We have to go and beat Leeds now. Because if we suddenly lose to Leeds or draw with Leeds, it's going to be complete misery and doom and gloom because we've just lost to Stevenage as well. We've put ourselves today in a completely unnecessary position. The club did not need to put themselves in. We've come a cropper. We've been absolutely embarrassed. The whole nation's seen it. And it's one of the most famous FA Cup victories that there's ever been. League Two Stevenage coming to big old Villa Park and making Aston Villa look stupid. And we don't, as fans, we don't want to be on the end of stuff like that. To have not won in 8 FA Cup matches or to have lost 8 FA Cup games in a row, that is scandalous. There's no other word for it. That is absolutely scandalous for a club of this size that wants to be a big club, says they want to win things, wants to get back into Europe. If you want to get back into Europe, let's try and win a cup. Play your first team. That's probably the best way to end the podcast. If you want to get into Europe, you've got to play your first team. Take it seriously. O'Neill messed around in the cups. You know, the one year he didn't mess around. We got to an FA Cup semi-final and a League Cup final, and we got absolutely robbed in that final. And I'll never forgive Phil Dowd for that decision. You know, the year Martin O'Neill decided to take the cup seriously, we nearly won both. You know, it's not rocket science, is it? The years he didn't, got knocked out by Moscow playing the kids. You know, he didn't take the league and FA Cup particularly seriously the 2 seasons before that. But in his last season, he made a conscious decision: we're gonna have a go and try and win these cups. We had 3 days out. No, we didn't. We had 2 days out. We had 2 days out at Wembley that season. It's not rocket science. Play your first team, and goalkeepers don't need resting. I don't care what anyone says. Play your number 1 goalkeeper in the cups because it's cost us in 2 cups now doing that. We may well still be in 2 cup competitions if we'd have played Martinez, in my opinion. That sounds harsh on Olsen. I don't know him. I don't want to come down on him too hard. But the simple fact is, whenever he plays, Aston Villa seem to lose. And we've let in an awful lot of goals with him on the pitch, and I can't dress that up as a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence. So Villa have let themselves down today, and they've let the supporters down who want to have a cup run, haven't won the FA Cup since 1957. Generations of Villa fans have seen Villa do absolutely naffle in the FA Cup. Kids today, a lot of kids I've seen coming to watch. You know, people tweeting me and tweeting saying, I'm taking my lad to his first ever game at Villa Park. You know, they want their kids to get the bug. You take them to the FA Cup third round, they ain't going to want to come again. I don't want to watch Aston Villa lose to Stevenage. Nobody wants to watch that. I don't want to watch that, let alone a little kid who's probably got pressure because all his mates support Manchester City now. I saw a kid when a bloody Edison goalkeeper top in Lichfield the other day, you know.
Edison goalkeeper top,
yeah,
right?
It's the most niche thing I've ever seen. Kids grow up, they want to support successful teams. There should be a successful team on their doorstep, but time and time again, we mess around. We don't take the cup seriously. We finish mid-table in the league, but for some reason we decide that we need to rest players. I don't get it, but yeah, that's my ramble.
I can't approve on that.
I'm annoyed. And I'm going to go up in 6 hours, so I need to go to bed. I'm on Sky Sports News tomorrow. Hopefully no one remembers I'm an Aston Villa fan whilst we're on here, because that's going to be absolutely embarrassing if they do. But thanks for tuning in tonight. Bit of a ramble in the end. I've literally just got to my hotel room in London, so I'm pretty tired after the drive, and I'm frustrated by what Aston Villa have shown me this afternoon, as Neil is as well. So Neil, thanks for coming and having a chat with me. I know you've already been through it once as well. And fair play to the 477 of you that are here, because let me tell you, if I wasn't doing a podcast, There's absolutely no chance I want to watch people talk about that game today. So hopefully you've taken something from it.
Yeah.
You're probably even more miserable than you were before you tuned in. But thanks for tuning in tonight. We do appreciate those of you that join us live. Like I say, I'm on Sky tomorrow, 9 till 10.
Do you have to plug
and
Purity
12
as well,
till
Dan?
1.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
sorry.
Purity. Let me plug myself now.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. 9
I
till
couldn't
10.
pick the worst time to interrupt you.
That's fine. 9 till 10 on the transfer shows and 12 till 1 tomorrow and Thursday, I think I'm in as well. As I say, hopefully not talking about Aston Villa unless they're going to sign 11, 12 new players after today. I don't want to be talking about Villa at all. Thanks to Neil as well. Neil, you got anything you want to plug? Obviously, you've done a pod already today. People go back and watch that as well on your channel.
Just all that. Yeah, just transfer rumor pods, just trying to fill the days.
Yeah.
Team sheet tantrums, all those kind of things coming up before Leeds as normal. But
yeah, we'll be back with a match preview during the week as well. Hopefully, feeling a little bit more happier before that comes around. Thanks to Purity for continuing to sponsor us. Get yourself some Purity if that's your thing and get 10% off by using the code #VillaView. I hope you have a bearable week at work. I hope people don't give you too much stick when you enter the office tomorrow. And only one thing left to say: up the Villa, what a club.